Okay, I want to come back because, yeah, sometimes when I say things like I said, yeah, this one testimony, she was a Christian living for Jesus and she went to hell anyway. And then I just leave it like that. Um, I'm not saying that that's going to happen. Okay, I'm not, that was their near death experience, but I'm not. Oh, and then another thing is, yeah, JD Farag, see, God gives confirmations, or when I have questions, it seems like it'll always show up. JD Farag seems to I didn't always watch his sermons, but I do now. And maybe always, they were always confirming what I would be talking over with Jesus. But they're confirming a lot. Okay, so what I was talking about in a video about the good and bad servants, he went over that. So, okay, so I was quoting like that. Well, I forgot. But yeah, I'm not a teacher. I'm just sharing with you guys, discipling about the things that are black and white, that are in stone. And along with it, I share some things that I I mean, we can all talk, can't we? To each other about, the brethren can talk about all kinds of stuff. That's how we learn. And how, watching videos of end time or preachers, or if I'm commenting, some of the things these people say really get my juices flowing where they otherwise would not have. And some of the things they say make me think of something that I never would have ever thought of. So yeah. Okay, then there was, so yeah, about the, oh, and so these videos I shared in the prior video about, there's 3 of them and they're all 3 very long. And I made some notes but I'm kind of over it. But, and I say that because it's not necessarily me that's over it. I might just, God is like, hey, never mind with that. But in those videos, they seriously are talking about, and it seriously does match with this Catholicism, Jesuits, and the way they've been tinkering with the Greek and Hebrew almost since day one. There was only probably, I think, 50 years. And like I said, the parable of the guy investigator, maybe that's the one. There would have only been like a period of 50 years where they truly, before they got conquered. After Jesus died, it was only maybe 50 years, 200 years, 250. And then, it all went to hell in a handbasket, and nothing's new under the sun. The Pharisees were trying to combat Jesus. So Jesus died. And then even Paul keeps writing these letters to the churches. Well, that church is corrupt. That is wrong in that church. And that you guys are doing this. Your members, shouldn't be, and this and that and the other. And Thessalonians. Oh, somebody's spreading a rumor that Jesus has already come. So see, since day one, these 3 videos that are long, they kind of explain that Satan is in the field, like the parable. They say, hey, master, while we slept, somebody has sown tares in our wheat. And do you want us to go pick them up? And he said, no, let them grow together. And in the end, we are going to pull them all up. And the other ones are going to go into the fire, right? So this kind of sounds like how JD said that the bad servant, they just won't get many rewards, because some of those parables are very uh, uh, like they're going to get burned or something. So that when after I rewatched these 3-hour videos, I haven't watched them all again yet, but 2 of them I have. It does seriously sound like the tares that were sown, the sower is the devil and the demons. The seeds are these Jesuits, these popes, these pharaohs and Caesars who think they're gods, and they're putting the mix with Jesus, and then they're legalizing, and then it gives you the history, y'all, of how it all began. And it seriously does sound like the wicked sower is definitely the devil. Duh, we know that. But he's using that church. Because listen, y'all, the Catholics own most of Israel, and they always have. And it's because of day one when they sacked Jerusalem. You can go Google it yourself. I mean, unless I heard wrong. I heard this years ago on TBN, just in passing, they were saying it kind of, and you'll see priests and nuns there. Oh, darn. I'll just redo it. They've been trying to get the Jews to accept Christ since the beginning. They're the ones that started it all, but they started it in corruption. So, yeah, the parables about the good and the bad servant, that makes sense. You know, it's better than like a bad servant, like going to hell. I can't imagine that. But then, of course, there's also the testimonies of the near-death experiences where they, you know, and those are probably testimonies for the glory of God, because that parable of Abraham and Lazarus and the poor beggar, that was before Jesus. See, that was when they went to Abraham's bosom. Now, I don't know the history about that, but that is a thing. That is a thing. That's why Jesus had to go to hell and conquer and took the keys of hell. And I mean, like I said, I don't know these kinds of things. But before this all, Jesus did all this, they all went to Abraham's bosom. Or to hell, I guess. But what was I going to say about this? But now, I forgot. I forgot why I was bringing that up. But now since Jesus, I mean, there's still a hell and definitely a heaven. That's always been. But I just forgot what I was getting at in bringing that up. So the good and the bad servant. Yeah. Anyway, I think that's good. You know, I don't think that, you know, you got, why I was bringing that up is because of the near-death experiences where they are Christians. Some are just nominal Christians. Some are backslidden. Some are lukewarm. But some, just maybe a couple, were Christ followers, and they were in the ministry and everything. And one woman, I've heard two. So one woman, it was unforgiveness and lack of love, I think, which scares me. Because upon the whole law hinges love your neighbor as thyself, and love the Lord your God. Love the Lord with all your heart and your neighbor as yourself. On these two things, hinge the whole law, right? Well, I mean, a neighbor in need, a neighbor, that's not bad. That's not, but somebody who's in your life and they're toxic constantly, now that's hard. But anyway, this lady, she went to hell, she said, and she came back to testify about it. Now, I don't even know what that means because that just sounds very, very, and she wasn't even the type she didn't even really remember doing it. It's not like she was here on this earth holding a seed of bitterness purposely. It was something she wasn't in the forefront of her mind. I'm just hoping that all these are just testimonies to come back to life and share. And because the parable where Abraham said they wouldn't even believe the prophets, no, I'm not gonna. Well, look, now we can come back and tell. Unlike Abraham said, you can't. I'll have to reread it because I think that's what he said. He said, maybe he was I know he was asking for a tip of his finger to drop in some water, but I don't know if he was asking if the beggar could come back and tell his brothers, or if he could come back and tell his I think he's saying that somebody needs to come back and tell his brothers. And Abraham said, no, they have the prophets. And if they don't believe the prophets, they're not going to believe somebody. So since Jesus already covered all that, and there's no more of us going to Abraham's bosom, instead we go straight up, or I don't know, maybe straight down. I don't know. All these 2,000 years worth of people that have died without Jesus, right? So maybe now, since there's Jesus, did this, maybe, yeah, now we can come back from the dead, near-death experiences, and tell, okay, and warn. But to be warning somebody that you can go to hell if you have some unforgiveness, I don't know what God would be doing with that. I don't know. Because I know God doesn't use fear tactics. I know we humans try to. But I don't know. So I'm just telling you, I don't know. But isn't that an interesting thought? And I was coming back to tell you that, yeah, I had forgotten about JD, what he said. Oh, and then I brought up the one, how Jesus says, if I come back and find you not watching. See, I meant to expound that, there's things in the Bible that are on different subjects. That one's on watching. The other ones are on working and other things. Maybe lying. And so, like I was saying, we take all these things and then we just chew the cud. We convert, that's what the Jews do all the time. They're always commentarying to each other. And that's why they have all these books of the commentaries. And, I was listening to that non-messianic rabbi because he was talking about end times. And I was really, really wanting to know more out that I didn't know as many channels, or he happened to be a Jew, and it was a Jewish perspective of the end times, and he was saying it was any minute. Now he's kind of changed his mind, because maybe he's real. So anyway, a lot of the things that non-Messianic rabbis say sound so much like the Gospels, you would not believe it. You would not even believe it, that you thinking they're reading some of the New Testament in private. And what else was I going to say about him? So he was talking about the end times. Oh, and then I was just looking around at all his other videos. Well, see, the Jews, some of these, maybe it's for real, like all of the rabbis, they do too believe in reincarnation. Isn't that crazy? Now, they're men of God. Like I keep saying, I don't understand all this stuff. Now, if somebody could explain it, fine. But if they don't, and nobody ever does explain it to me, or God never sends someone to explain it to me, I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with it. But all I know is they know a lot more about ancient times than we do. And I'm not saying you should believe in reincarnation because of that. But I'm saying the other things they have that they talk about are pretty interesting. Like, for instance, if you've had bad dreams, wash your feet before you go to bed. The bottoms of your feet, wash your hands, and tiptoe to the bed. Just don't get them dirty, or put socks on and then walk to your bed. And I was kind of having bad dreams, not nightmares, but bad dreams. I also would anoint my head with oil. So maybe I don't know which one was which, but the washing of the feet before I went to bed, oh, it really helped. But he also would talk other things about history, like stories of characters, not characters, real people in the Bible that we read about in our Bible. And he knows so much more about, we know the stories of them, but he'll give like, expound upon certain stories, like, oh, in this war, during this war, they did this, and they went straight to that guy, and they did, like, say the story of when they hid something in Joseph's brother's bag, and then they held, Joseph kept back Benjamin, and then, so those brothers, we get our story in our Old Testament how it is, but the Jews know more detail. So he was something about explaining, like, the brothers fought, and they like can jump up like 30 stories high kind of fighting. They were like supernatural fighting. They, like King Solomon. He already knew the stars. He was an astrologer. I mean, all these Jews like knew this stuff. I forget what video that was. It was something about King Solomon already knew about something would be happening before it happened, because it was written in the stars, and it was not fortune telling like the wicked demons try to mimic what God does. Not at all. It is, God said he will tell you things in the sun, moon, and the stars of things to come. It's not fortune telling. But he would see, this is an example of that rabbi. What I would hear, interesting, cool stuff. And so I would listen. And it may not have been that story about them kidnapping Benjamin, or about Joseph holding Benjamin when they, it might have been another where they had these. So see, it's interesting to learn some of this stuff, but I skipped the ones where he's talking about reincarnation. He also says that when you go to sleep, your soul goes up to heaven and gets cleansed. And I'm like, and this Cupid's bow on your lips, this Cupid's bow that you normally have, that's because he says the angel smacked you in the mouth when you were born, or before you left heaven to go get impregnated in your mother. Before you left heaven, you knew everything. You knew everything in heaven. That's why that girl's testimony, she's like, I remember you. She did remember the angel in her room when she was a child, but I do know that there's other near-death experience. Hers wasn't a near-death. Hers was a whatever it was. But there are people that do go up there and they feel like they're at home. So I do know we all came from there. Yes. Our books, all our names are written in the book of life. And we knew things up there, but we came down here to learn things as to being a human. Well, when this rabbi says that, and all rabbis say that, I just like this particular rabbi. I don't know how I found out about him, but he was on my feed back in 2020 or something. But anyway, he said that then when you get sent to earth, because you're leaving heaven to get in your mama's belly, that the angel smacks you in the mouth, so you forget everything about heaven. You forget everything. You forget you can choose what life, maybe. You can maybe choose your parents. I mean, some get that opportunity. I don't know. I don't delve into that. I'm just saying that um, I don't know why I was bringing him up again, but I'm just saying that if you saw his near-death experience and then you wanted to watch some of his stuff just to learn stuff about the Bible, I'm just telling you, I don't believe in reincarnation. I don't think any of us should. God does not recycle people. He does not recycle. And I'm just here to tell you, I don't believe in that. So if that rabbi, if you see that he does, it doesn't mean I do. Just because I've watched him. And I don't watch those videos of his. So, and they have, I think it's called Mishnahs or something else. They're all commentaries. Like I said, they're always commentating. And they have their ancient, rabbi prophets, and that they also read those too. We're just end time watchers. Okay, so yeah, this about if I come and find you not watching. He also talks about he's coming as a thief for those who are not watching. So I'm just saying that's a thing. I don't. Of course, the unbelievers aren't watching. Hello, he's talking to believers. So, and like I've said, I've never thought it's fair that this generation is going to get to experience a rapture, and this generation is going to experience the tribulation that is never again going to be, never has been before. But yeah, what about all them other people died, 2,000 years worth of people that died? And did they get such severe punishment as being left behind in the trib? I mean, no. Where are they hanging out right now? Right? Yeah. Anyway, none of this stuff is really seriously important, but what's seriously important is our relationship. Rewards are very important. Your love for your creator that is probably the biggest lesson of a human on this earth to learn, is how to love an invisible God. Take it as a challenge. That is so serious to your humanity, because you may think you know how to live life on earth, but you don't. You haven't a clue. And there's a devil that is roaring around. Now, he's been defeated, but not if you are not loving God, or at least trying. You've accepted Jesus and you're saved, but you don't know how to love him, or you don't have the respect or the reverence, because how can we revere? How do we even have a gauge for that? So yeah, but you got to spend your whole life. Some of us, it's easy. It's easy to love God, but there are some that it's not so easy. And it doesn't mean you have to just give in and give up or be lackadaisical. You just got to try harder and ask him more. Say, I want it. I want more. I want more. I want everything you have for me, God. Everything. I want it all. I want all that you have for me. But he's got to wait till we're mature enough to give some things. You don't give the keys to the car just because a 4-year-old says, gimme, gimme, gimme. Okay, well, I wanted to bring that up. Okay, love you guys. I'm going to eat my sloppy joes after I toast 2 more buns. Or another bun, whatever. I did that one. Okay, God bless you guys. And keep praying and believing and trusting and talking to God. Okay, bye.